Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome President of Strategy, Alliances, and Marketing for SUSE, Michael Miller.
Good morning. Good morning, SUSECON. How do you like that video you just saw? Pretty good, huh? Well, guess what? That was the winning song from our SUSECON Music Song Parody Contest, and it was submitted by a gentleman that works at Dataport in Hamburg, Germany, and he just happens to be here with us today. Joachim Sielk, come on up. Let's give him a hand. Thanks, Joachim. That was great, man. It was really great. All right. All right. Thanks, Joachim. All right, now, talking about some more fun, I think that we all got a little bit wild at the Wild Horse Saloon last night, if I'm not mistaken. And from what I can hear, there was a core group of people that I think might have been willing to stay there all night if the band had just been able to keep playing. Does that sound about right? Yeah, that's what I thought. They were really rocking it out. All right, so let's get on with our show this morning. At this point, it's my pleasure to welcome to the stage our CTO Americas, Brent Schroeder. Come on out, Brent.
Hey, Michael.
Hey, Brent. How are you?
I am excited.
Excellent.
Excited to be here. That music always gets me going. So.
Yeah, me as well. All right, well, let's talk a little bit about what's teed up for today. And, you know, over the last couple of days, we've had some great conversations up here about technology. We've talked about, for example, hybrid cloud and multi-cloud. And I promised our audience that you would be taking us a little deeper into some of these topics. And
Absolutely.
give me a little taste of what you're thinking around hybrid cloud and multi-cloud, for example.
Well, I think the big things on hybrid cloud, particularly some of the challenges that people are dealing with today, is how to really realize the vision.
Yeah.
Because there's been a lot of talk about, you know, what is hybrid, what is multi, how do you get there?
It's been a buzzword for years.
Buzzword for years.
Yeah.
And how do we make that more seamless? How do we realize it with a single operational set of principles?
Yeah.
And that's some of the things we want to talk about today.
Okay. I think everybody would be very interested in hearing your thoughts
Absolutely.
on that. And then another thing that we didn't talk about the last couple of days, but I know you have thoughts on, is this idea of mixed workload management. Actually, Nils touched on this a little bit day one, where he talked about the reality of the modern enterprise, where you have both VM-based applications that are likely to stay in VMs for a long time, and then you have a cloud-native initiative where you're creating a lot of new applications using newer technologies, and those things need to coexist.
They do.
So
they do.
What are your thoughts on that?
They are
That's
going
a
to
problem.
exist for a long time. Actually, on Monday, I got to host the CTO forum, our first CTO forum, and this was one of our topics, was how do I adopt, what are the challenges of adopting this new compute paradigms while I still have hundreds, thousands of applications in the virtual machine environment.
And did your group of CTOs connect with that concept, that reality?
Yep, absolutely. It's a barrier to progress. And so, you know, we collectively took it as a challenge to continue to advance the topic. We've got some great things we're going to talk about this afternoon on how we make progress on that, both in the short term and long term.
I think that'd be a really valuable problem for all of us to work on together and solve. Okay, so one final thing I wanted to touch on with you before I leave you to it is kind of just a general view of how to, addressing all these technology topics, how do we bring that to solutions? How do we transform that into something that our enterprise customers and partners can use?
Yep. Well, I think the big thing from a SUSE standpoint is moving beyond looking at products individually and really starting to look at our whole portfolio as solutions. And our services team is really making some great strides in putting those together really in a solution orientation. So I think as we work with our customers, our partners, and bringing those together and understanding the problems they're trying to solve and working with our services teams to orient those into a solution versus a product will really go a long way into helping that.
Okay. Well, I'm going to leave you to talk more about all of that.
Great.
And I'll be back in a little bit.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Well, I'm really excited to be here today. This is my first SUSECON, so really looking forward to talking about how we're putting these trends into action that we've been talking about. We've talked about hybrid cloud and multi-cloud and cloud-native computing as macro trends. But really, what are we doing from a product and portfolio standpoint to address that? And one thing, I think it's a truly amazing time to be in IT and technology, more so than ever before. I know I'm having more fun today than any time in my career, and it's really about the pace of change that challenges us every day. There's more new things, more new technologies coming out, and how they come together and the things that they enable, and the remarkable spectrum of problems that we get to deal with and solutions we get to deliver. Some of these are great fun things, such as the gaming solutions that Dr. T talked about yesterday, and music, and how music is evolving, and how IT and technology is playing a role in music. And if you're not sure what I could mean by that, stop by Demopalooza tonight, and you will see some amazing applications of technology to the development and realization of music. And then there's really serious things. The things about solving health issues, diagnosing cancer earlier than ever before, ensuring the safety of food supply that we eat every day when there's issues that come up. How fast can we identify them and eliminate the problem to prevent issues with human health? And then there's the everyday things, keeping traffic flowing smoothly through the city with smart cities. Although I'm definitely sure that Austin, Texas has not adopted this new technology yet. And some of our other everyday habits, like the barista knowing that you like your latte skinny, or maybe with an extra shot and a drizzle of caramel over the top. All of these are enabled with the numerous emerging technologies, whether it's machine learning, IoT, multi and hybrid cloud, containers. The list just seems to go on and on. So what is SUSE doing to help you deliver these amazing solutions? Let's start where the proverbial rubber meets the road, the infrastructure. There are so many buzzwords thrown around today that have major ramifications on infrastructure. And you, as the IT operators, the IT administrators that ensure that it gets deployed and keeps running and is secure. Many imply you don't have to worry about it, that the infrastructure is just invisibly there, and it'll stay running and it'll scale auto-magically as you deploy your applications. And others clearly do impact you. And the reality is the infrastructure domain is expanding and more diverse than it's ever been before, layer upon layer, not just in the data center, not just in the cloud, but far flung from edge to core to cloud. And not just in the physical servers and not just the virtual servers, but now talking about functions as the server or serverless. And it's really, you're thinking, no servers? That's really not, it sounds wonderful, but not necessarily the reality. The fantastic thing about all this diversity is it enables us to deliver customer-obsessed solutions, as James Staton so eloquently outlined for us on Tuesday. However, what still remains in almost every scenario is the infrastructure. Comprised of an operating environment, data, and the interconnectivity, this still exists, still needs to be fed and cared for. You still need to be able to see, deploy, and govern the platforms across any ecosystem. You still need to secure the applications, the infrastructure, and the data. And you still need to ensure that your customers are getting the experience they expect. We want you to be able to take advantage of all this diversity whatever it is, wherever you want to deploy it. This brings us to the seamless edge to core to cloud, specifically for software-defined infrastructure. A maturing tenet in the SUSE portfolio is an infrastructure that is consistent across these domains and seemingly seamless. Let's start with compute. We already provide a platform that runs across the vast majority of devices in the data center, in all of these domains, in the edge, in the core, and the cloud. At the edge, for example, SLES on Raspberry Pi to collect data from all these things that are running out there. And then pushing that data into an HA cluster that may be an aggregate cluster at the edge to aggregate the data, to process it, and then be able to control all of those things that you then also have at the edge. And in the data center, supporting the largest HANA databases in the world. And then the same platform in the cloud, running a retail store with the catalogs and online carts, globally distributed, accessible anywhere from any device. The next challenge is storage. And SUSE Enterprise Storage is on its own journey to enable this consistency from edge to core to cloud. Today, you can deploy SES on-prem or in the data center and replicate data back and forth. That's kind of step one in that journey of seamlessness and data accessibility everywhere. With V6 coming later this year, you will be able to replicate the data through S3 interfaces from on-prem to the cloud. And that replication will be able to be policy-based, policy-driven by data group, so that you can determine what data needs to be copied, what data you want to move, if you want to be archiving, what are your archival policies, and be able to truly affect that in a hybrid connectivity model. And then the big milestone, enabling consistency from edge to core to cloud, will be in a follow-on release. Through the Rook project, we will deliver a containerized cloud-native storage solution that will enable the storage environment to be co-resident with the compute environment in a Kubernetes ecosystem. And through this, the big win is you can co-locate now your compute and storage on an expanded number of operational domains, because the footprint will be significantly reduced. So putting an application near its data and then pushing it to an edge and then having that have the ability to scale up and down dynamically as the application demands, as the data grows, is really that realization of being able to have your data wherever it needs to be, co-resident with the application, understanding the latencies and data requirements and privacy requirements that are maybe necessary for any given application. And for those of you that want to be involved with these exciting developments, there's a great opportunity coming up. SUSECON is going to be in May in Barcelona. So I encourage all of you that are deeply involved in storage and want to influence this direction and participate in its progress in the truly open source method, definitely join us in Barcelona for that event. So now, the next frontier, application delivery. So what Michael and I started to talk about of mixed applications, and we'll kind of take this a little bit of a step at a time. And how do we take application delivery to this seamless edge to core to cloud? The concepts of cloud native computing promise abstraction, portability, and extreme automation. The dream of developers has always been, why do I have to care about this infrastructure? And then came along containers, and developers were elated. Hey, I'm free. I can just develop containers and deploy them. The promise of that and the portability of an application platform. However, many aspects, the basic operations to scale and run containers in a production environment was seriously lacking. So next came along Kubernetes with the promise of container automation. And it was great at automating an application and scaling it up and down, automating the recovery and failure of an application. However, this still left the IT team to figure out for themselves how to secure the environment. What's the lifecycle management strategy of the containers, of the ecosystem? And the developer still has to be sensitive to the infrastructure and the target environment and be aware of where that's being deployed. So how can you take advantage of these cloud-native technologies while ensuring IT operations still have the robustness and governance required of the enterprise? And then still deliver an agile, completely infrastructure-abstracted experience for the developer. Let's take a look at SUSE's application delivery strategy for some insight on that. The first thing you will notice is our commitment to openness. Your kind of open, my kind of open. Our solution strategy allows you to choose the container solution and your application delivery model independently, depending upon your business and operational requirements. The SUSE Container as a Service Platform, CaaS, is focused on integrating the key container deployment and orchestration elements to provide an easy to deploy, easy to administer set of solutions to really help ease the ramp up of adopting containers. Now let me talk a little bit about our SUSE Cloud Application Platform. As mentioned earlier in the conference, CAP 1.4 was just launched, an exciting release for us. This release introduces 100% Kubernetes native architecture, provides the administrator choice in container schedulers between Kubernetes or Diego, and now offers support for Google GKE. And I want to spend a moment on what makes CAP so valuable in addressing the container adoption challenges. And this goes back to what we were talking about on Monday in the CTO forum, is that as enterprises attempt to scale container and Kubernetes deployments, they begin to encounter challenges meeting the enterprise requirements, notably consistency in configuration and operations of the container ecosystem. You don't want each developer kind of making up the rules as they go, which is what you get largely in the DIY environment. And you also get the consistency of how Kubernetes is deployed, and then also embedding the knowledge of Kubernetes in the system so that you don't have to be experts in it. Your developers don't have to be experts in Kubernetes. It's inherent in the system and how it auto-generates the scripts and consistently generates the scripts. So you don't have different methodologies being applied by different applications that may be outside the bounds of the policies that the organization desires or needs to operate an enterprise. So thus alleviating the developers from having to understand containers and the operational infrastructure, instead can focus on their applications. The final point I want to make on CAP is how it is truly multi-cloud and truly edge to core to cloud. The Stratus UI provides the ability to access and deploy applications across numerous container clusters. So you can deploy CAP on-prem on our Container as a Service platform, Or you can deploy it in the cloud on Amazon, on Azure, on Google, and choose which ones you want to use to fit your business needs. Why would people have multi-cloud? From what I've experienced in talking with customers, the big driver for multi-cloud is I guess there's two factors to it. One is as a remediation or a backup so that you don't get locked into one cloud, having consistency and the ability to move to another cloud. But probably the bigger factor is that of the services that are beneficial to the applications I want to develop. I may have some artificial intelligence applications that I'm building, and the services that come natively in Azure facilitate my development of those applications, so I want to use Azure for those. While I may have other applications that could really benefit from some Amazon services, and so those applications I host in Amazon, because that's where I get the greatest benefit of the cloud computing paradigm. Now, what I don't want to have to do is have my developers go to all of these different unique locations and understand the tools for Amazon and the tools for Azure and my on-premise. And CAP and Stratus allow you to abstract those away and really have a true multi-cloud experience from a single administrative point, from a single developer point. So what's left? I've talked about the seamlessness and consistency. I've talked about developer-enforced container policies and common platform. But how do you manage all this infrastructure spread across this and deal with the diversity of Mode 1 and Mode 2 IT? The point Michael and I were talking about. How do I handle this mixed environment? And how do I apply common operational policies? And what has really become obvious to me, and when we talk about DevOps, and everybody kind of talks about DevOps, and hey, this is the way we go, and we're a DevOps shop. And what I've realized in talking with IT shops is that the ops has been forgotten in DevOps. So how do we get that back? Well, this whole paradigm of the seamless infrastructure and the seamless edge to core to cloud extends into the container ecosystem as well. And I want to reinforce this notion that holding these principles helps address the issues that IT is dealing with in adopting cloud-native computing. We have a great foundation to build a unifying edge to core to cloud management solution. Today, SUSE Manager can manage VMs and physical boxes, and it can also help manage your container environment in that it can build and inspect containers and check the compliance of containers. So where are we going? How can SUSE help the enterprise manage the growing complexity of this infrastructure and manage both cloud native and the original kind of traditional Mode 1 IT environment? Well, we see SUSE Manager as the foundation of our vision of one admin server. With a containerized plug-in approach, we can unify orchestration of existing crucial monitoring and management services into a single paradigm with a vetted set of tools, thus reducing complexity. The user interfaces will be unique and optimized to the two major personas. The software-defined infrastructure admin will have their interface paradigm to operate and manage the software-defined infrastructure that's inclusive of containers and the policies that go around containers. And the LOB user, typically the developer, will have their developer-focused interface, through the Stratus interface or Horizon, for example. The use cases will cover a complete infrastructure DevOps lifecycle, from image build and deployment across the software-defined infrastructure from edge to core to cloud, cluster orchestration, including SES-HA, or SLES-HA, the SES storage clusters, Kubernetes clusters with containers, all orchestrated from a single point. Security scanning and auditing, and enforcement from the physical layer to the containers, from the data center to the cloud and back to the edge, all having enforced security, enforced compliance. And then monitoring and log management, specifically with actionable insights. On this point, SUSE Manager will be the control point for monitoring, able to provision, configuration, and automation of the monitoring infrastructure, specifically Prometheus and Grafana, becoming integral parts of that ecosystem. Along the way, we recognize that you need to bridge the gap between the new world and the old worlds. Call it Mode 1, IT. And to that point, SUSE Manager will still provide the normal SUSE Manager experience without leaving that behind, but with even more features for monitoring bare metal and doing basic VM management tasks. So we'll be supporting you in your containerized software-defined infrastructure, spanning edge to core to cloud, and still enable you to manage traditional IT. So, as I opened with, it's an amazing time to be in IT. The resources and technology we have available are unlike any time in the past, and there's no sign of it slowing down. And I think James Staten's picture on Tuesday captured it well. The digital cloud ecosystem connects everyone to apps, data, and devices everywhere. And I hope I've been able to show you a little bit this morning how SUSE is helping empower you on your digital journey, including key aspects in our vision and where we'll be going next in storage and systems management and containers and cloud native. And with that, I want to wrap this up. I want to wish you an excellent rest of the show. Make sure you make it back for Demopalooza to see parts of this vision in action. And with that, I thank you very much.